Welcome to Coming to This and That, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. Today is an interesting day because we are uh, getting started on one of our other relationship level topics this week. Talking about, well, this one's more like social interaction. So we're dealing with the soft guy era and the ability and requirement for us to stand on principle and try to you do that. Yeah, stand on principle and try to make it make sense. So, sorry, I'm working on some other stuff on the sidelines here because we got a lot of things going on. The soft guy era 2024 was started off as a trend. It started off as a joke, and we had some guys that kind of made some comments. And typically, when a man makes a comment, women get angry. So I've experienced that here on the podcast a couple times, where when we say something, we typically get "How you doing, Samantha?" We sorry, that's Santine. All right, I thought that was Samantha. Either or. Um, Typically when we make comments as men in the gender inequality scenario, when a man voices their opinion, we typically get quick and juicy backlash from the women, and that's where the soft guy era 2024 came from, with the guys jokingly responding to the women's behavior uh, exactly the way the women project themselves to the men more often than not. And I've had a lot of women that tell me, "Oh, well, not all women do this, so you're projecting a personification onto all women." And I'm just straight across the board, like, "Yup, I am generalizing in the most raw sense, because I come from a position that has no compassion or moral or ethical withdrawal that allows me to pamper the existence of somebody else to give them a lesser blow, because there's no nice way to tell somebody that they're fucking up." Make sure that you guys like and subscribe, join the membership. Remember that we are live 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 5 Pacific, 7 days a week. So when we're talking about how individuals are clearly, I don't pull punches on them. I let them know how it is. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. And if the situation is harsh, the situation is harsh. So in this particular situation, when we're looking at the individuals that uh, negatively impact men's engagement, that's when we have had men in the past uh, come out and say, "Well, it is what it is." And I can understand that when you have that position, that it is what it is, that as a man, you can adapt and overcome adversity. And it shouldn't be that big of a deal, but it really is that big of a deal. And the Soft Guy 2024 ever kind of shed that light on how big of a deal it is, specifically because we have a situation where, as men, we have one not one obligation, but a list of obligations that are linear. It's always been the same way and it's never changed. We have the obligation to protect and provide for the family. And in return, or a consolation prize of the protecting and providing the family, we get the respect, admiration, and validation from the family. Um, Women are protected and provided for, and in return, the women provide respect, admiration, validation to the person that is protecting and providing for them. In modern times, things have changed, and women are now overly masculine. The men are becoming more overly feminine. So the soft guy era started out being a joke, actually becomes an actual trend where the men are abandoning the masculine position and saying, "You know what, I'll just let you be the boss." But the women are also saying, "Because you're a man, even though I'm the boss, you still have to pay for me." And that is not a position that a man is supposed to be able to say, "Okay, I'll do that." Fuck that shit. If I'm paying a cost, I have to be the boss. And if you want to be the boss, you got to pay the cost. That's uniformism. So we had some conversations with the women on the show over the past week where we were discussing scenarios where what happens if they're making the same amount of money. That never happens because women do not have the same career choice as men. But in the likelihood that you're about the same ballpark of one another, where a man and a woman are in a relationship where they are both making reasonably close to the same amount of money, the contributions are not always 50-50. And part of the reason why contributions are not always 50-50 is women pay for their own upkeep if they don't expect the man to pay for their upkeep, and that wasteful spending on their upkeep is going to deviate from taking care of the bills. This is one of those issues that we talk about on a regular basis when we talk about business and finance, when we talk about investing, stocks and bonds, and improving your long-term wealth over your short-term efforts into work. And when I say short-term efforts into work, I don't mean that you only work a part-time job or you only work 6 months out of the year. I mean short-term efforts, meaning that when you put in effort into an activity, that it only pays you for the right now. And then you spend that money right now, and then you have no money left over right now, which means you got to get your ass back out there and go do some more of that short-term work to get some short-term money to take care of short-term bills. If you are in a relationship, a healthy relationship with a positive partner that is going to aid you in your success, in making your family successful, then you have a partner that's going to aid you in building your long-term wealth so that your short-term efforts have long-term side effects, which leads to long-term prosperity. Now, if you're dealing with a partner that is selfishly taking care of herself financially, and then even worse, expecting you to take care of her financially, and she is saving her money in an interest, a high or low interest account that's less than 5% a year, because actually the money market accounts are 0.62%, and 0.62% is less than 1% a year. The regular checking and savings accounts are 0.52 or 0.54. Some banks tell you that there's an awesome like 5 or 6% interest, but they charge you $5 or $10 a month for the service, which reduces the interest rate down to 0.42% interest when you take out the monthly service fee from the interest that you gain from the annual interest rate. So that overly inflated annual interest rate minus the monthly service fee actually reduces your interest rate by leaps and bounds, but it doesn't take away from the fact that you still receive taxable income that got charged to your account. So if you don't file your taxes correctly and claim all of the service fees on your account, offsetting the amount of money that they taxed you, you're not going to really get as much back on your return. Now, back to this power dynamic that we're struggling with. In today's time, we're saying as men that we're going to stand on our non-negotiable expectations for behavior, which means that we're not going to allow ourselves to be talked to any kind of way. We're not going to allow ourselves to be treated any kind of way. And we are going to start shutting down and rejecting the females that are not treating us the way we want to be treated. Now, that doesn't mean that all of the women are going to be kicked to the curb, but there's going to be a select few where if the shoe fits, then whether or not you want to admit it, you're probably going to be wearing that shoe, because in these modern times, the men recognize that sex is not the prize, that the man is the prize. And since the man is the prize, you got to get up off your ass and you got to really take control of your situation and stop allowing the mentality that I'm going to take the feminine role and let her have the masculine role continue to take over your social interactions with females. Because these days here in the Western culture, the women are not in a uniformed egalitarian mindset, and the women that are in our 2024 era, we are not seeing those females that are being partners in the sense of, equality. They are partners in the sense of sex partners, living partners, life partners, but they're more under a dictatorship style behavior. So as we pointed all this stuff out, we said, well, we got to figure out what we need to do to change the way the dynamic is structured, because it is not benefiting us at all. And one thing about it, I was talking to, I think Amy and Amanda earlier today. These are some of the ladies from the Philippines that are working in the T-Mobile call center that's working on the internet. So they got the internet up and going today. So we're actually hoping for the best, but I had to give a special shout out for the ladies because they did a good job for me today, so I really appreciate them. And one of them asked me to throw out a special thanks to them on the show today. So if you're looking at us from the YouTube platform, then we gave you guys a pretty good shout out. Your name is scrolling across the bottom of the screen in that picture on the YouTube platform. So if you want to show your friends in the Philippines that your name is on my screen because you talked to me in person, you click that link over there in the subscription button box, and it will take you to the YouTube platform. You can subscribe. You can also watch the show from the YouTube side, and you can see your name that is over there in the top left corner, scrolling across the bottom of the screen in a more sizable font from the YouTube channel. For the rest of you that are still hanging out with me over here on the TikTok side of things, I just remembered, because we're going into a lot of things today. It is really strange. You guys, if you want to get onto the show and add your 2 cents in, you can. This is updating. There it is. Invite request accessible for those of you that want to join into the show and put your 2 cents in here about the overly masculine behavior of females. For the rest of you guys that are here from Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter, Facebook, you guys have the link in the comment section right now. If you can click the link, approve the mic, approve the camera, you'll be able to dive in real time and have conversations with the host on the show about the topic of discussion today. We are really going to get in there and we're going to grind about the fact that the more feminine expectations of the men in modern times, 2024, from the younger generation, offsetting it's a survivor tactic, offsetting from the overly masculine women in modern times. It seems like after we've done a lot of digging and did a lot of research on it, that women have been inherently becoming more and more overly masculine, taking over masculine roles for over 200 years. Because as we talked on the show before, the females were not dressing in high heels, long gowns, makeups, and wigs. That was what the men did. And then that migrated over to a woman-only situation. And then it went even further as to have the men being like all pants and button-down shirts, and the women took over that style as well. And now we have female pantsuits and pretty much everything except for having facial hair that has traditionally been a male-only thing has been conquered by women. And then the ideology of masculine roles is now being dominated by women, with the exception of masculine responsibility. So this is where soft guy era kicks in, because if you're dealing with overly masculine females where they want to be in charge and they want to dictate terms on a regular basis, but you have these overly masculine females that are not actually contributing towards their own individual authority over the situation, you start having a power dynamic, because most people, male or female, are not going to want to put their money in a place where they have no control. They want to be in control, but women want to be in control more than men. Men just want to get through the situation and survive it. Women want to be in charge of the situation when the situation is successful. But when the situation is not successful, more often than not, there are women that will retreat from the authoritative role and then say, you're a man, you fix it. And that's not the way to be. If you're in the leadership position and your dictatorship leads us to go to war, you are supposed to lead the war. If you're not going to lead the war, then the leader of the kingdom is going to lead the kingdom in the war, and you're going to stay here, sit down, shut up, and follow instructions. That's how the power dynamics are balanced, because you are protected by following instructions, doing what you're told, talking only when talked to. And then the inverse would be that the person that has the authority is going to be getting his ass whooped, getting shot, killed, and everything like that in behalf of you. So you can get that person roped into some bullshit that he or she wasn't supposed to be in, because you are the dependent. Women do not like to be psychologically wrapping their minds around accepting any position that makes them seem less masculine, less of a man, less of an authoritative person, less of an authoritative figure in and of itself in the engagements with society. And as a result, you've seen on the show before where we had one of our more dominant fans, Mr. Pibbs, come up onto the show and aided in co-hosting the show. And the girl that has him in the friend zone came up onto the show and didn't even want to admit that she was a fan of the podcast, that she did not want to accept or acknowledge in any way, shape, or form her position as a subordinate fan to the host and co-host of the show. She instead had to be like a third party supporter kind of thing. Like, yeah, I don't really value what you do, but I kind of just like am showing support kind of thing, like a sponsor in an AA meeting. She didn't feel comfortable with allowing herself to be recognized as a fan of the show. But truth of the matter is that if you are watching a show 5-7 times a week, 2-3-5 hours a day, and you really like the content, that's a fan. You're a fan of the content. If you want to be on certain shows where you come in, you call in, and when you call in, we put you up onto the show so that you can be involved in certain topics, then you're a fan of the show. So when she didn't want to be accepted as a fan of the show, I didn't want to embarrass him in front of her, but that really points out a lot that more often than not, women will reword it where they feel comfortable with the delivery of the message, and then they'll accept that message. But if they're not comfortable with the delivery of that message, they will retaliate in the most negative and harsh fashion, which is typically detrimental to the survival of the man in the relationship. And that's why the man does self-preservation tactics to keep himself afloat in toxic environments. So it is a very, very hard subject for us to touch base on, because when we touch base on the subject, we have to come from two different perspectives. And the first perspective is that there's a certain level of unacceptable behavior that exists. The other perspective is that you got to put your foot down and say, nah, I'm not taking this shit. Let me give you an example of the soft guy era. Put your foot down, stop taking this shit. So one of my bros, he still lives with his mom. He's a middle-aged man. It happens. One of my bros, he lets his mom borrow his car. His mom reorganizes his car however she sees fit, brings it back with no gas in it. It's a lack of disrespect, or it's a lack of respect, actually. And, I tell him all the time, I'm like, well, look, bro, as a man, you are supposed to be in charge of your stuff. Nobody is supposed to move your things without your permission, or and notify you in advance before they mess with it, because it can't just say, oh, because I told you that you knew. No, you have to come and ask me, is it okay if I move that before you go and touch that? They should not take it out of your car, bring it to you and say, is it okay if I take it out of the car? Well, bitch, you already took it out of the car. So, like, why the fuck are you asking me now? You should have asked me before you thought about taking it out of the car. Or the moment you thought about taking it out of the car before you touched it, you should have came and asked me, is this okay? Or called me on the phone or text me and asked me, is this activity okay? But the lack of respect for the man comes from the ability to do whatever you want to do in front of the man, to the man, and the man just shrugs his shoulders and tries to find a way around the shit that you did, which is inappropriate and unacceptable. But some men are so conflict avoidant that they could care less about how that situation plays out. So they do the best that they can around the chaos. So dude's living with a female that will take his car without asking him, burn all the gas out of the car and not replace it, and then take his property out of his car and relocate it without talking to him about it. And then when he goes back to his car, he's on the road. He's looking for his dash cam. He's looking for car keys, looking for all this other stuff that's supposed to be where he last put it at, and shit's coming up missing. This type of disrespect is not supposed to happen. You are supposed to, a female, regardless of her age, regardless of her relation to you, is supposed to have the same level of respect for you that you expect for her to have from you. So the likelihood that you feel the same level of respect that she feels by you doing whatever she wants is not going to be the same. Because if you're treating her the way she treats you, then you would recognize that if she's walking out of your car with shit that's not hers without consulting with you, that you need to stop letting her use your car. So before you stop letting her use your car, you might give her a courtesy of saying, look, these are my rules. I'm dictating terms, and you need to follow my instructions on this. Otherwise, you're not going to have utilization of my car. Now, I know some people say, oh, well, if dude's talking back, he'll get thrown out because, blah, blah, blah. Truth is, 2/3 of the income's coming from him, which means that if they're not surviving, because he's got to work 2 jobs to do that. So if guy is not working 2 jobs and bringing in more than 60% of the income on a group that does not bring in that significant quantity of money, then you got to ask yourself, if they can hold that down without you, what the fuck are they doing with the money that you've got to work 2 jobs to cover all these expenses every month? Because you're not there, because you got so many jobs to work to make up for the money that you're not making on your 9 to 5. We ask the women on the show on a regular basis, what do they do to benefit the men? What do they do to bring value to the relationship with the men? And they always come up with all of these non-tangible efforts and behaviors that is a promo for how they really treat their man. But not very many women admit that the level of respect that they have for the man is not nearly as high as the level of respect that they demand from their man. How you doing, Red Void? Good to see you today. So when we're dealing with taking charge and standing on our principles and standing on our non-negotiable expectations for behavior, we're putting ourselves in a position to say as men that we will not accept or tolerate any form of negative behavior in our presence. And if we observe that negative behavior, that we're going to just replace you on the spot. That it's not going to be a 3 write-ups and you're out kind of thing. It's not going to be I'm going to warn you and then I'm going to do something mild this time and something moderate next time and something severe the time after that. It's, look, my way or the highway mentality. And I'm not going to help you pack your shit. You better call Tyrone. If you're not adhering to my agenda, adhering to my success, and you're not putting forth your effort into making sure that I'm successful. Now, as men, if I'm working on building our wealth, and this is the statement that I was talking about earlier, when a lady came and said, well, what if 2 of y'all got somewhat of the same income and putting the same amount of money? Who's supposed to be in charge? Well, you selected him. He's supposed to be in charge. That's like asking the question, who's in charge of the class? Class president. You elected him as your class president, so he represents you. You do what he tells you to do. It's amazing how I have to teach grown women in their 30s, 40s, and 50s how to behave the way high school kids behave in social hierarchy. It still applies. It still applies. You respect your elders, and you respect the people that protect you, and you respect the people that provide to you. And I said that in 3 phases, because you're going to respect people that are older than you to a magnitude because of their age and their wisdom. You're going to respect the people that provide to you to the magnitude of their investments in your scenario. And then you're going to respect the people that respect you to the magnitude that they respect you. And you respect your elders. I mean, not your elders, your mother and father out the gate. So these factors put you in a position where you're not going to be fussing and cussing and all that stuff to everyone, but some of those people are really going to get the middle finger out of your social interactions and your social engagements. And it is a very tough call to say that you are not going to stand on principle, but you are going to try to make yourself successful in a relationship where the more money you bring in, the more money she spends. Where there's a negative balance on all the credit cards that she's got access to, and she ain't putting all that money into the gas tank. So when the ladies ask me, well, who's supposed to be in charge of the money? Well, the man is supposed to be in charge of the money, not because I'm a man, but because you selected that man to be in charge of the money. The same way we select through voting a presidential candidate. We do not just have somebody fall into our lap as an authority figure. This isn't arranged marriages, which we're going to be talking about on the show later on in a few weeks. But it is the fact that, as the authority figure, this person is supposed to dictate terms, and he's not able to dictate terms. And that is what is confusing a lot of the relationships and leaving those relationships in the toxic fallout. Like, take a look at what happened last night on the show. We had one of the fans come up onto the show and really go in on the boyfriend that she hates his guts. And I mean, I couldn't co-sign on everything that she was saying because, I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm neutral, but I am going to say that on a uniform platform that if the shit was fucked up when he did it, shit's fucked up when you did it. And I always going to say that it takes two people to fuck up a relationship, not just one. Because he's got to do it, and you got to not like it. So that takes two people to fuck it up right there. And then your retaliation to him doing that is where the second half of you fucking up the rotation comes from. Because if he does something that he's not supposed to do, and then you, I guess, verbally scold him on it or whatever, and then y'all go back to y'all married days, he's not doing that shit no more. If he does something fucked up to you, and then you get revenge to do something fucked up to him, and then he does something fucked up to you, that's going to keep tearing down the walls of your relationship until your relationship falls apart. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, guys, you still got to stop being conflict avoidant, where you're not willing to tell people that matter to you to cut that bullshit out when they're doing shit that you don't like. I got no problem with disowning family members. I got no problem with disowning best friends. I have no problem with cutting people off because they're unnecessarily getting on my goddamn nerves. Going on, Keem? I was in mid-sentence when I seen your name pop up on the screen, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to finish what I got to say real quick and then throw this man a shout out. So we're talking about standing on your non-negotiable expectations for behavior today. We're telling men to get off their ass and stop being a bunch of little pussies and start standing up to their right to be the masculine person in their relationship, which also helps them be the masculine man in their social interactions, not just with women in business and in other areas of life, where you could really push the envelope of your success by being the more assertive person. Interestingly enough, if anybody is interested in firearms, I actually got me a light. Finally, not a light. I don't like lights. I got a laser. And the reason why I got a laser was two reasons. And it had to be practical. It had to be practical. Because I don't like wasting money. So and everything about spending money on something is wasting money at some point. But a practical sense of doing something actually has more benefit than the cost. So the laser only cost $60. Came with an extra holster. So I've got like 5 or 6 holsters right now, different ways. Some I like, some I don't like. I've been working on a free, not free like price wise, but free like free access holster, something that is quick draw, that also is secured so that it doesn't just fall out if I'm sitting down or trying to stand up or adjusting myself, where I can maintain control of my firearm while I'm doing what I'm doing. And this is important kind of for what we're talking about, because standing on your non-negotiable expectations for behavior, and when you're trying to protect yourself and protect your family, you got to find ways to do it here in the United States, well within the confines of the law. So, you know, being able to get it done the way you need to get it done, you got to be prepared. Planning, which is one of the things that women need to pay attention to when they're trying to select a man. Can he plan shit? Can he budget shit? Can he organize shit? Organizing shit doesn't mean that he's got his room clean. Organizing shit means that he's got a 12-part process to getting from nothing to something, to go from failure to success. And he has a structured, organized plan of action with a man that's able to have a multi-step process to be successful, whether it is business and finance or day-to-day experiences and unexpected catastrophic events, where there's a fallback plan for the flat tire. There's a fallback plan for the flat tire after the flat tire. There's a spare after the 2 flat tires, that if you end up with 4 flat tires, you got 4 spare tires kind of person. So reasonable spending with the tack light, not the tack light, the laser. I got the laser, and I got the green laser, and that's the reason why it was $60, because it was $10 more for the green laser instead of the red laser. Most law enforcement gets the red laser. A lot of them in SWAT and other areas of the military have some of the green lasers, but truth is green laser is more effective in the daytime. And if I'm going to be whipping this out, it's going to be reasonably the same between green and red at night, but green is more visible in the day. And also alongside green is blue, but blue is harder to find because I had a Smith & Wesson shield. So I said, well, I'm going to grab this tackle. I'm going to grab the laser. And the laser came in a holster. Holster was pretty nifty. But I stuck the holster. It's a inside the waistband holster. I don't like that part. I wanted an out of the waistband holster. That way I can grab it and pull it quick, as opposed to having to like lift my shirt and kind of go for it. But I'm going to work on those details soon enough. As it stands right now, because I've got it around the house. I still got the same holster that I had before with the extra mag on it. I just had to modify the holster so that I could have the tack light on it. And when I put the tack light on it, the tack light came out. It looked, part of me wants to show you guys, and the other part of me doesn't want to show you guys, but it looked pretty good. I think I'm going to show you guys on the members only portion of the show, but the light that I got on the laser that I got on it was pretty strict, because you would think that just goes right on. No, it fits like a glove. Yes, it definitely fits like a glove. It is not like you see on the video where you could just slide that son of a bitch on there. And I've got L Beats. Did I understand you say that women need to step back and men are smarter? Can you repeat that, please? All right, Mr. Beat. I was just talking about this laser real quick, and then I just see your comment because I'm bouncing back and forth between TikTok and YouTube. I'm going to dial it back, and I'm going to go back, and I'm going to touch base on your question, because I was happy about my laser, and I just wanted to talk to you guys about it because that son of a bitch fit like a glove. It looked like it was built into the gun right now, and I was like, nice. And I had to adjust the laser so that when I quick draw it, the button is actually right next to my finger, so I can just click it and the laser's on. Probably got to practice that with the quick draw. Came with a spare battery, so we'll talk about that on the members only show. You said, did I say women need to step back and men are smarter? And can I repeat that, please? So real quick. Look, men are more responsible about their shit. Women can be smart, and women can be smarter than men, but I also believe that women are not prioritizing the same areas of importance that men prioritize. And women do need to step back, because their over aggressive behavior is not conducive of success in a relationship, because the women are not prioritizing their mentality towards enhanced success in the future of the relationship. More often than not, the females that are in the relationships right now are focusing on the right now. From the first encounter, the women are expecting the men to wow her, which means that the man is going to have to spend a lot of extra money to impress her, because she's not impressed by his character. A lot of the women judge the men based on attributes that the man can't change: his height, his weight, his skin complexion, whether or not he's got hair on his face. Well, he could probably change the hair. Those things that he could probably change. But it's not that easy for a man to change his financial status. A man makes a certain quantity of money because a man makes a certain quantity of money. Now, when we think about that, and we think about the fact that this female that is talking to us about how we have to accept her for who she is, how we have to accept her for what she brings to the table, and we don't even know what she's bringing to the table, because beyond sex, we don't see what a woman brings to the table until the woman starts becoming useful to the man. We have this problem where the females actually are representing the fact that because they're cute, that they deserve to be well taken care of by men. Some of these females are also representing the fact that because they are boss ladies, because they have a 9-to-5, that they are required to be in charge of the relationship. But the women are not paying attention to the success of the longevity of the relationship because women want to be kept. They still want to be spoiled. Spoiling a woman is wasting money. They want trips around the world. Taking every extra dollar that you get off of your day-to-day and putting it on travel is a waste of money. Women want expensive, lavish gifts so that they can show those expensive, lavish gifts off to their friends and family. And wasting money on stuff that you don't need, which is why I was talking about the laser on a pistol, is irresponsible and not conducive of your success. I actually got a big bonus, and I was able to utilize a small portion of that to be able to upgrade and enhance for better safety and security, because quick draw, I would be able to, especially in those situations where the tac light's activated or the laser's activated upon the draw, that I would be able to pop the target without much effort of aiming, because since I've taken the time to calibrate the laser to the crosshairs of the firearm, when the firearm is discharged within reason, that bullet is going pretty much within a 20-yard radius to the target of that laser. So now, instead of me sitting here spending an extra 2 or 3 seconds trying to move the crosshairs around to see if I will pop my target, I actually can, quick draw and hit the target, and I'm going to hit him in the throat. I'm not going to lie. That's always the aim is to hit him in the throat. But when it comes down to talking about the women and their abilities to be effective in relationships, we have to understand that they're not paying attention to what we're paying attention to. So I've been talking on the show over the past couple of weeks and the past couple of months about investments. And while I've been talking on the show about passing investments and stocks and options and stuff like that, I've had women come on the show 3 or 4 times this past week over the past 4 days. And 2 of the women were having a debate about why one woman was obsessed over her ex-boyfriend from 4 years ago, who is seeing a new woman this past 12 months and has not had any affiliation with this chick. But this chick was on a podcast for 4 hours talking to us about how depressed she is and how she wants her ex to suffer because she's alone and single. I'm sitting over here looking at her like, why are you not getting your shit together? Why are you not trying to improve yourself? Why are you not trying to find out what men need in a woman, practice that, emulate that, and then start replicating it for the next man? And then when you get that next man, you find out what else he wants done and then improve yourself to be that, because that's what men do for women. There's common expectations that the majority of women have. And then beyond that, there are intricate, specific things that women have that they want, need, and desire that men will try to accommodate for that exclusive woman. So a lot of things that we do for most women that we are attracted to, that we have feelings for. And then there's other things that we do that are exclusive to you, specifically the one woman. And a lot of the jealous women that go through a man's history, which is why I say, men, smarten up, wise up, lock your phone up. Don't let her go through your history. You got a girl that you can count on that can make a business call and not go through your history. That's a keeper. If she's scrolling through your phone, looking at what fucking text message you sent in 1996, fuck that shit. Get rid of her, because she's looking for problems. And when she finds something that she can start a problem with, she'll start a problem with you. That's a toxic woman in the makings of a toxic relationship. You don't want that. So, because she'll find a text message that you said to somebody else 15, 20 years ago, where you quoted the exact same thing word for word that you just told this girl. Just because I'm feeling the same way about you right now that I felt about this person 10 years ago does not change the fact that my feelings are genuine and what I said was genuine. So Beat says, thank you for addressing my question. However, women are more single parents managing household than men in general. Would you agree? Yes. And the reason why that is because the law favors women, because traditionally women were supposed to be the ones that take care of the children. But statistics have proven that children are better taken care of by men, because men are more rational and logical and women are more emotional and manipulative. So women do not teach the children right from wrong and good and bad because of how their behavior patterns and choices negatively impacts the child direct's agenda. What they do is they teach the children, do as I say, not as I do. You remember that from your mother. I remember that from my mother. And they also guilt trip you into doing things that you don't want to do because you don't want them to feel bad. They do not tell you that I want you to do this and this is why I want you to do this. They do not tell you that this is better for you and this is why it's better for you. They do not tell you the positive side and the negative side so that you can weigh the pros and cons of the decision that you're about to make. And they do not rationalize things with you or negotiate things with you. They will tell you to follow my instructions or else. Now, men are going to be different. Men are going to come with probability. Men are going to come with logic and reason. Men are going to teach the children that these are the reasons why you shouldn't do that. Now, if you go do it, these are some of the ways that you might not get caught. And these are some of the ways that you can minimize collateral damage towards your decision-making process. But if you fail, you will fail. And this is the worst that could happen to you. If you succeed, when you succeed, this is the best that can happen to you. And then the most logical, rational, and reasonable men teach the children to hope for the best, expect the worst, and take whatever happens in between. But you're going to aim for the best and prepare for the worst. And whatever happens, happens. But you're going to do your best to succeed while recognizing catastrophic failure at the same time. You take all of your money out of your savings and you invest it into this one business deal, you're either going to make a shit ton of money or you're going to go bankrupt. And you got to be prepared for both. A woman's going to say, well, give me some money because I need it for my medication. Then when you give her the money, then she's going to take the money and she's going to go and buy a lottery ticket with the shit. Then when you ask her why she's got all these extra lottery tickets around the house, well, you know, you don't win if you don't play. Fuck you mean? You can invest in the stocks and be winning a hell of a lot faster than what you could be investing in a lottery ticket and winning. Now, fact is that does, just because women take care of the children by the expectations of the law, does not mean that women are better strategists. It does not mean that women are better managers of the household, especially in modern times. Now, back in the 60s and 70s and the 80s, when the women were caregivers of the house, they did a better job of it than the men did, because the men were never home. The women were always there. And the only thing that the men could do is guide and mold and mentor the children when he was available. And the women would teach the children the rest of the stuff along the way. But these days, women are dropping the kids off at the school, and it's the school's problem to teach the kids. So the women are not teaching the kids. And then the responsibilities around the household are not being managed by the woman. It's managed by the nanny, and it's managed by the housekeeper and the landscaper. So women right now are complaining about having to do the dishes alongside the men. We've had that happen on the show 4 or 5 times already, where women are like, oh, well, my husband won't do the dishes. He puts the stuff in the sink, just leaves it there. And I don't understand why he can't get in here and help me with the dishes. I don't understand why you can't take your ass in there and go do the dishes your goddamn self, because women fought with liberation for more responsibility, not to change roles. You did not fight to not be in the kitchen. You fought to also be able to work a 9 to 5 and be in the kitchen. You fought for more responsibility. And so when you shifted your responsibility by choice to not being bound to the kitchen, you're not bound to the kitchen, but the kitchen is still your responsibility. Just figuratively speaking, because I don't expect women to be barefoot and pregnant all the time. But when the household chores was the role of the feminine person, the role of the dependent, and then you want to be able to be equally masculine with the man. If you're going to get out there and go work a 9 to 5, your original job doesn't change. Your original job is still there. But because you're working alongside the man, now you're going to say, well, the man needs to go figure out another way to get the house taken care of because I got a job too. That's not teamwork. That's not equal. So when a woman fights for equality or demands equality, you can't demand equality but not treat your man equally. You can't expect your man to treat you better than you treat him and then say that he does not deserve to be treated the same way that you're being treated. So when we start talking about the business and finance part about things, I'm seeing all your comments here, Beats. I'm going to get all of them. He said each parent offers learning to the children as they grow. They do. So, like, for example, women might be able to change diapers a lot more effective than men, and women will be able to breastfeed the children and be able to provide nourishment to the children. The women might be able to. Some men are better cooks than women, and then you also have those situations where the women will be able to stay home and stay up late with the children when the kids can't sleep and stuff. But when it comes down to teaching the children logic and reason and stuff, so keep in mind, I'm not saying that a man can replace a woman. I'm saying that when it comes down to teaching the children fundamental responsibilities, that a man's going to do a better job of that than a woman. So when you talk about how the women manage the household better, back in the 60s, yes, the women managed the household better, because back in the 60s, the man would go to work, bring his whole paycheck back to the house, give it to his wife, leave and go back to work. And while he's gone, she's paying all the bills. She's ironing his clothes. She's cooking food. She's buying groceries. She's sewing up shit. She's keeping the kids clean. She's keeping the kids with the school supplies. She's paying for their tuition. If the man wants to buy something that's outside of the budget, he tells his wife about it. She saves up the money, Then she lets him know that there's enough money there to go get that, because back in the day, that's what women was doing, leading from the rear. Today, women aren't leading from the rear. Women are sitting there with their hand out talking about where's my cut. And then they're saying it's the man's job to be able to balance the budget. So most women right now don't even know what a fucking Bitcoin is. And Bitcoin is valued at $72,000. Most men know what a fucking Bitcoin is, even if they can't afford to pay for that shit. And you see, especially on TikTok, you see right now a trend that is popping off where if you ask a man, would you prefer $100 right now or a Bitcoin? The woman would say, I could prefer $100 right now because you know how much shit I could buy. But a man would say, no, fuck that shit, a Bitcoin, because last year in March of 2023, Bitcoin was worth $20,000. One Bitcoin was worth $20,000. Right now in October of 2024, that same Bitcoin is worth $72,000, $73,000, $75,000. If you would have owned a Bitcoin last year, that Bitcoin would have gained you $50-something thousand in 18 months. And the ladies are saying, $100 bill, we could go shopping. Fucking $72,000 Bitcoin, baby. You could turn out a $5,000 a month income off of that shit, and not affect the principal. So when we start talking about men are more responsible than women, when I tell you on this podcast that men are more financially responsible than women more often than not, it's because those men that are trying to get their shit together are trying to stack money so that they don't have to, at 80 years old, 70, 80 years old, be working at Walmart as a door greeter, talking about stuff. I got to make extra money to match my Social Security because I don't got enough money to survive. You got these women right now that don't give a shit about what's going to happen in 10 years. They want that Gucci purse, the Louis Vuitton bag. They want the red bottom heels. They want the Brazilian weave. They want the $2,500 worth of makeup that's going to stick to the pillow like a face mask. But they're not talking about how, oh, I want to get my husband a new suit so that he looks good for his job interview. I want to get my husband some new shoes because he's been wearing the same shoes. The heel is starting to wear out. I want to change my husband's tires on his car because he's been riding around with bald tires because he rebuilt my transmission with the money he was supposed to spend on his car. You don't have women doing that. The women are saying, what about me? Take me out to the mall. Think about it right now. We've got Halloween coming up. That's for the kids. Thanksgiving, that's for the in-laws. Christmas, that's for your girlfriend. Valentine's Day, that's for your girlfriend. Mother's Day, that's for your girlfriend. Easter, that's for the kids. Hold on now. Mardi Gras, that's for the drunks. Good Friday, that's for the church. Father's Day, barbecue day. That's it. You get a fucking tie and some charcoal, and you have to cook the fucking food. Like, it's not like on Father's Day that they're going to take the man and treat him like a king that day. They're just going to eat whatever he cooks and not complain about it that day. And then after that, like, there are no other days to validate men. But the rest of the holidays, you're wasting all your money as a man on this female. And for what? Because I could tell you right now about 15, 20 different ways that we could take $100 and we could turn it into $1,000. And no woman is going to say, oh, damn, I'm going to do that tomorrow. But I just talked to 3 different women in the Philippines that was telling me that if you were living in the Philippines, you could have an upper middle class lifestyle, making $1,000 a month. You would be living good. You would be living Beverly Hills good in the Philippines at $1,000 to $1,500 a month for the entire standard of living. Where in America, most fucking houses are $3,500 a month for the rent on the house, $3,000 a month for the mortgage on the house. So, you know, L Beats is saying, I've been married for over 35 years, so I'm old. Hey, you could be old, but that don't change nothing. He said, we have raised 2 wonderful sons and supported 4 more in their quest for success. Exactly. We have worked together to bring solutions that work for all his kids. Exactly. But that requires the type of woman that is a partner to your man. You're not going to have that type of successful relationship where you guys have been married for 35 years. So Barbie, pay attention. He's married for 35 years because his wife worked with him as a partner, not as a dictator, not as a, you know, take that because you pissed me off last week kind of shit. That's not how things work. In relationships, we typically have to compromise, and we typically have to play to our strengths. There are going to be some things that women are good at, and there's going to be some things that men are good at. But for the most part, she said supported 4 more. He's talking about he had 4 more kids. So they had 2 kids, and then they had 4 more kids that they aided in being successful. So that's 6 kids in 35 years that they contributed to the success of. Whether it's their original 2 kids or the 4 grandkids, whatever the case may be, I never dictated anybody. No, you didn't have to dictate anybody, but you definitely made sure that you wanted what is it, Alex and Amanda and everybody else that was going on in yesterday's topic to suffer. And I'm like, you should be trying to get your money up instead of worrying about whether or not they suffer. It don't matter if they suffer. You got to get your money up. I thought you meant 4 more as in grandkids. It could have been 4 more grandkids. It could have been just 4 more extra kids, because sometimes we have a couple kids, money is tight, we stop having kids, and then when money starts getting better again, we stop caring and we start having more kids. So you sometimes have a generational gap. So you, in 35 years, he could have had 2 kids when they first got together, and then 18 years later decided to have 4 more kids. And them kids just now got grown. That's a possibility. Or the 2 kids could have had grandkids, and because in 35 years, you got 2 generations there. At least 2.5 generations there. So, but either way it goes, when we're talking about how the men are going to pay more attention towards making more money, building up more wealth. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't irresponsible men out there, especially these 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds. They are going to, oh yeah, you're right. But you weren't making those right choices though. They are our son's friends whose parents weren't that great. Exactly. So didn't have to be his kids, but there were 4 other kids, and they made sure that all these kids grew up and these kids were as responsible as possible. And proper parenting, that you got. I'm just gonna segue into this real quick, because when we talk about this and that, we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And you guys got to understand, back in the day, 50 years ago, y'all got to understand, it took a village to raise a child. You understand? So you might got kids, but your neighbor's kids is your kids. Your neighbor's kid 3 doors down, that's your kids too. So you could not, as a child in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and 90s, go down the street and do some stupid shit and not get your ass whooped by somebody else's mama. Not get your ass whooped by somebody else's daddy. And then they'll bring your ass back to the house and tell your mama and daddy what the hell you just did, so that they can beat your ass too. The reason why Gen Zs, and not Gen Zs, the reason why Gen Xs are as diligent as they are, because we didn't have go stand in the corner and think about what you did. We had bring your ass here. Go get me a switch. And it better not be a small one. So we had immediate consequences for bad choices. We learned cause and effect. And he's right. It should still take a village, but the village is not united anymore. These days, you have an apartment complex where the neighbors don't know each other, been living around each other for years. You've got neighborhoods where people move in and people move out, and nobody knows who lives in their neighborhood. Most people stay in their house. They don't go outside for months, years. They order food to go to get delivered to their house. They don't even meet, since COVID, they don't even meet the delivery person. The person drops it off at the door and leaves, and they open the door and grab the stuff and bring it inside and don't know who dropped off the food. They just make sure that all the food's accounted for. We do not greet one another with mutual respect in the street. We do not communicate with one another respectfully. We don't compliment one another in the street. When a man compliments a woman, he's shamed for that. And women do not compliment men. When men express too much gratitude towards women, they're considered a simp. And women do not express any gratitude towards men. Men are expected to do all the heavy lifting in this society for a woman, even if he doesn't know her. But a woman is not supposed to do anything. I had bamboo in my backyard. True. Bro, so when I'm telling you, y'all seen WWE with the kendo stick, right? That's just real. Going to the backyard, the whole, like, our yard, we had 10 feet of the backyard was all bamboo forest. So you went back there and you got you a huge switch, because that's all you had back there, and you brought that to him. And that some bitch was supposed to be, and with a bamboo, you want to get one of those bigger, flimsier ones. That way, the bitch will break and it doesn't hurt as much. You don't want to get a firm one. So if you can kind of break it to get it loose and bring it in, then you're doing better than one that you got to kind of sawzall, because you already know this is gonna hurt. and then, and then God forbid you got those parents that tape the ends on both sides so that when it's split, it's still gonna hold. They're gonna bust that ass. They call that child abuse these days, but that was discipline back in the days. And we were better for it. You see, we ain't in jail doing all kinds of stupid shit. We ain't never went to our school and shot up our school because we didn't agree with the fuck was going on. We just catch them some bitches after school by the bus stop and bust their ass. We didn't do all that. What are the choices I was supposed to make? And if I see them in public, should I make eye contact with her? Nah, hell no. Nah. You first of all, you're not even supposed to be going to that man's neighborhood because you and him don't live in the same city. So I don't know why you sitting over here planning on trying to come in contact with some dude that stopped thinking about you 4 years ago, blocked all your contact information, and does not know that you stalking him through his girlfriend's contact information. He see you pass him in the street, he gonna try to go the other way. So you should do the best that you can to not go to his city and go to the places that you know you're gonna see him. He's not gonna come to your city. He ain't seen you in 4 years. He ain't trying to see you in the next 4. So, you know, as far as he's concerned, you don't exist no more. So you should behave the same way about him. So, likewise, you know, this is a perfect example of what I was telling you before, Beats, when I was telling you that the choices that are being made, every time we turn on the TV, there's always a shooting. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I was talking about the laser that I had added to the pistol earlier today, because I want to make sure that I don't miss. But the fact is that we have to look at, he should not exist anymore to you. So take him out of your mind and stop thinking about him no more. So when we were talking about how the women are not making the right choices when it comes down to investing, and they're not making the right choices when it comes down to planning and preparing for the future. Right now, not very many. You got the average woman right now today, this 90% of educated women, driven to go to college so that they can get a degree, getting out of college and using that degree hopefully to get a job. That job is probably going to be in humanities more often than not. And then after they get that job in humanities, that's it. They're going to use the money that they make to get to sustain their standard of living, and whatever house that they can rent or buy, that's it. Whatever car that they can lease or buy, that's it. Beyond that, there is nothing else. You don't have too many women that's saying, "Oh, I'm going to go into real estate. I'm going to buy a bunch of properties. I'm going to build myself a second, third, fourth income." You don't have a bunch of women saying, "I'm watching the stock market. I'm going to invest in IBM or something like that because market's down, it's about to go back up. It's a bull market coming soon. I'm going to invest in certain stocks now. I'm going to bet against the stock so that when the stock market changes, that I can get a massive dividend." You don't have women talking like that. You got women talking about stuff. I want to get the new Brazilian weave. I want to get the new Jordans that's coming out. I want to get that new Prada outfit. I want to get that new Kim Kardashian cologne or some stupid shit like that. That they're getting this lingerie. They want this dude that they can attract so that the guy can spend money on them. You know, when women meet other women, they ask them how they're doing and how's their family. When men ask or meet other men, they're asking men, how's your business? How's your success? You know, how's your finances? You're not looking at and see, L Beats is a perfect example of why society back in the day was so much better when the men and women got together, because the woman matched the agenda of the man and they worked together as a team. This man right here, 35-year marriage is what we're aiming for when I'm telling you guys that we got to be making better choices. Most of us don't have a 6 month to 2 year and 6 month relationship. Most of us is in and out of relationships every 3 years. This man been married to the same person for 35 years and probably dated her 5 or 10 years more than that. where he could tell you off the top of his head that out of the 65, 70 years of his life, the first 40 something years of his life was her. The rest of us is sitting over here trying to figure out how the fuck we're going to get by day to day with the person that you're talking about, the guy from 4 years ago. He done moved on. In 4 years, he's moved on to another woman that he's been with 1 year. If he don't fuck that situation up in the next 2 years, he's going to be with her for 3 years. You had him for 5 years, where you only seen him 15 times in 5 years. And that's a long relationship for you. And all the men that you have interacted with him between 2000 and 2004 or 2000 and 2020 and 2024, however many that you interacted between him and now, none of those lasted over a year. But he got one for the last 18 months. But between you and him, neither one of y'all got somebody that's 10, 15, 20 years. This is why. I missed a comment here. She asked me, are you an Andrew Tate fan? There's a lot of things that Andrew Tate says that I'm not 100% on par with. Andrew Tate and Myron have this personality perspective that specifically are pointing out how women are mandatorily obligated to be submissive and subordinate to men, and they don't really have any common sense available to speak above the authority of a man. I personally believe a little bit differently than that you got to pay the cost to be the boss, and the person that is focusing on improving the success of the relationship financially should be the one that should be dictating terms on the finances of the relationship. The person that wants to enjoy spending the money in a relationship should follow the instructions of the person that's saving and investing the money in a relationship so that the money can be invested wisely. The person that's making the most money, investing the most money in a relationship should dictate terms about what's going on in a relationship. That's going to be uniform. So for those women that want to be alpha boss women, that are going to be responsible with the money, that is going to make sure that the family's taken care of and invest the extra money that isn't needed for the household into something else, so that they can make more money for them, can be in charge and be responsible. But a lot of women are tyrants when they feel like they are an authority in their relationship, and they disrespect and devalue and degrade their man to the point where the man is miserable, but she don't care because his goal is to make her happy. And those relationships don't last, because typically a man's self-preservation tactics is going to have him become more distant with her. She might cheat on him because he's not emotionally available, because she's treating him like shit. He might cheat on her because she's treating him like shit. And in both situations, she's going to leave him because she either found another man that's doing more for her than the man that she's got, or she don't like the fact that her man cheated on her with somebody else because he's looking for the emotional invalidation that happens from his wife to be validated by some other woman, because his woman is not treating him the way that he's treating her. So I can't say that I'm a big fan of everything that Andrew Tate says, but I can tell you that if I'm starting to sound like Andrew Tate, as I'm explaining to you with no compassion and no morality and no ethics involved to minimize the blow of the magnitude of the fact that the shit is fucked up, because it's a biased position against the favor of the men, while the men hold the financial responsibility, and the weight of that financial responsibility is burdensome to the magnitude that a man is not considered a man unless he can hold that weight and deal with the volatility of a woman, that it makes absolutely no sense that you're going to say that a man has to be told what to do with his money, but a woman cannot be told what to do with her money. And a man has to follow the instructions of a woman and pay for her standard of living at the same time, but a woman cannot be told what to do so that she's not wasting all of his money. That shit don't add up. So that's going to make me start sounding like Andrew Tate, because, womanese does not add up. But logic dictates that if you make it make sense, ma'am, it doesn't matter who fits that role, it's going to make sense. So Barbie says, when talking about what they're doing, men report what they're doing. I learned that sociological. Well, yes, men report what they're doing. Women don't report what they're doing. Women insinuate what they're doing. Women, see, Mr. B said that he's been with her 19. They dated 7 years, married 35 years. That's where I want to be. I'm not going to get 35 years at my current age, but if I can get 25 years following his lead, that's what I'm aiming for. But to the magnitude of what you're saying, yes, men do report. Men are direct, and that's one of the issues that we have, because women don't want to be told what to do by a man, and because women don't want to be told what to do by a man, the problem is that the men are telling her what's going wrong. They're telling her what needs to be fixed. They're telling her what they don't have time to handle. They're telling her what they need her to catch, and she don't want to be told, but she don't know. She's not paying attention to that because that's not on her level of responsibility. She's focusing on what she wants to be responsible for and leaving everything else to chance. And that's why when me and Mr. B started off with this conversation, he was asking me was I saying that women don't have the mental capacity to function to the same magnitude as men. And I'm not saying that women are smart enough, because even when I tell you, hey, if you want to find a better quality woman, you can fly to the Philippines to go get them, because they got 2, 3, 4 degrees, so they're smart, and they're speaking 4 or 5 different languages, so they're bilingual, multilingual, but at the same time, they're also saving a bunch of money on a bunch of other shit, because they'll fix it themselves instead of paying for a service man to come and fix it. And then once the deal goes full circle, they got extra money in the house, which I've come to understand that the women in the Philippines spend more money on food than they spend on anything else. But the fact is that it's better for you to eat good than it is for you to have a bunch of frivolous shit. Because if you, the average person that you flip through their social media platform and you see a photo or video of their bedroom where they have 32 fucking pairs of Jordans on the wall displayed like a goddamn Foot Locker at $250 a shoe. They got almost $10,000 worth of shoes mounted up on their fucking wall. That's a car. That's a down payment on a house. They can't do shit with them shoes. The shoes aren't even worth the amount of money they paid for them shoes. But you could have got you a pair of $20 fucking flats. You could have got you a pair of $40 fucking high tops. And them shits would have lasted you just as long as all of them goddamn shoes on that wall put together. And not have to waste so much money. So Barbie says, unlike my ex, I have a college degree. He don't need a college degree. Most of the successful men in this country right now do not have college degrees. Steve Harvey told jokes. You got a bunch of men that are in real estate, just know how to count money. You don't need an accounting degree to know how to count money. You just need to know how to add to 100 and then multiply that by 100 and then know percentages. And you can learn percentages. Pretty much a 9th grade education can get you through a multi-million-dollar Elon Musk company. You don't need to have a degree. Women validate the fact that they've got a degree, but you can wipe your ass with a degree and still have a dropout make the same amount of money as you. Think about this, man, real quick. You go to college, you spend 4 to 8 years in a college because college gives you 150% of the degree. So a 2-year degree is going to give you 3 years. A 4-year degree is going to give you 6 years. You come out with a degree in nursing. You're a CPN or CRN. You go into a hospital. You're going to make $48,000 a year in that hospital. Now, guess what? In the McDonald's on the first floor of that fucking hospital is a shift manager making $65,000 a year as a high school dropout, because they're paying, in the fast food industry, they're paying almost $18 to $25 an hour plus overtime. You ain't got to have a degree to go and work at a fast food restaurant. Matter of fact, you go work at Waffle House right now. High school dropouts at Waffle House are making $25 an hour plus tip. Okay. And if you're a shift manager, you're mandatorily required to work 55 hours a week, which means that you're literally drawing back almost $1,500 to $2,000 a week pay working at a Waffle House plus tip. Now, the nurse is working 18-hour days at $15 an hour, and the cook that she thinks ain't worth shit because he's a dropout is making $15 an hour more than her plus tip. But you got a degree now. So don't make it seem like because you got a degree that you're better than him. You got more debt than he does, but that doesn't make you better than him. She says, in regards to my ex dating a single mom, do you think he disciplines her daughter? Most people who have kids, whether it's their kids or somebody else's kids, discipline their kids. Beats will tell you he was raising other people's kids. It wasn't his wife's kids or his kids. He was raising other people's kids, and them kids had to get disciplined. They had to get scolded. They had to be told, cut that shit out. Sometimes they had to lose privileges. Sometimes they got an ass whooping or two, you know. And those kids, if they got parents that didn't give a shit about them, they would love to get their ass whooped by somebody who cares about them. And they will tighten up out of respect for that person that took the time out of their day to beat that ass. Because if you don't care about your kids, you are not trying to straighten them out. A lot of times love hurts. People say, oh, that's abuse. No. Because me giving you a whooping at the house is a whole lot better than you getting shot at a traffic stop. Me beating your ass at the house is a whole lot better than you getting shanked in prison. So when you think about the magnitude of the consequences of your actions, the difference between me taking a belt to that behind now versus the law enforcement taking a billy club to your jawline later, you're going to be sitting over here thinking, I'm glad I got my ass whooped because I'm not making them mistakes as an adult. Beats said, my grandmother was widowed in 1925. She raised a child single until he entered the Air Force to fight in World War II. Imagine owning a business and buying a house in the 1930s. She was a rock star and she was responsible. Now, where the mentality of the women like that? See, 1925, those were the women back in the day where they took care of their family, they took care of their kids, they took care of the neighbors' kids, they kept shit in order, they had self-control, self-discipline, they had self-respect, and they had respect in their man. I see Wink Speed. How you doing, Wink Speed? We got you on both sides over here. I got chat. You see the chat coming across the screen from YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. And then I got you guys in a whole nother chat box until I get my stream key. Make sure that you guys like and subscribe, join a membership. We got for you guys the TikTok in the bottom right side. We got that subscribe button for YouTube. We also have somewhere else on the screen a follow button for TikTok. And you see the picture in picture because TikTok is in the main screen, and then YouTube and Twitch and Twitter is in the small picture. So what do you got for me, Wing Speed? I see that you dove in. You got some stuff that you want to tell me today. I did not see anybody say invite me in. I know they got some folks that got some stuff to say, but y'all could be diving in. So Barbie agrees. She's got those high fives at L Beats, and she talk about some poor shoes. Yeah, them poor shoes. He said, wouldn't the daughter resist her mom because some random dude is disciplining her? Resent her mom? No. See, this is the thing. Children who are taught to respect their elders are not going to judge which elder to respect. Children lose respect for their elders based on their elders' negative behavior. So from diapers, 5, 6, 7 years old, they are taught to respect all adults, uniformly speaking. So if one adult catches your ass tripping and you catch a whooping for that shit, your ass wasn't supposed to do that. Uniformed authority. All the adults have the same opinion. That is not going to fly with me. You are not supposed to do that in front of the adults, as opposed to you're not supposed to do that in front of your mom, and your mom is not going to let anybody else stop you from doing it. So if your mom doesn't catch you doing it, nobody else can discipline you for it. That type of behavior is the reason why them kids is talking back to the teachers in the school, and then the mom comes down there to the school threatening to fight the teacher, and now the child is getting expelled from school, and the mom's going to jail. But the child is not learning to respect their elders because the child is sitting over here talking about some, you can't tell me what to do. Back in my day when I was in school, if I ever decided to call myself making a face, not saying something disrespectful, just making an unexpected frown, don't make me call your father. That's it. That was it. I didn't have to talk back. I didn't have to make threats. Don't make me call your parents. That shut up the whole class. Everybody stopped acting a fool. These days, call my mama. I'll put her on FaceTime right now. She'll come down here and she'll whoop your ass. That's what we got these days. Disrespect, because the parents are teaching the children, the mothers are teaching the kids right now, don't let them bully you around. Don't let the teacher bully you around. Don't let the teacher disrespect you, this, that, and third. They're not teaching the kid respect the teacher. The same way the mothers are not teaching the daughters to respect their boyfriends and their husbands. The same way that single women are not telling other single women to be partners to their mate so that they can have that 35-year-long marriage. You know, L Beats mom, widowing. That means she stayed married till her husband died. And then she's got kids going into the Air Force. And then she's able to buy a house and own a business because she took over everything that she helped her husband make. She's entitled to that shit. Women these days want a man that's already successful. Women these days want a man that's already financially stable. When we start talking about how the women will treat a man like gold in the Philippines, the women in the Philippines are going to look at a man like he must be rich because he came from America. But do you know that that woman is going to do everything that she can to show that American man that she's worth being with him, as opposed to and the most that an American man got to do is spend $300 for a passport and then $2,000 for a plane ticket. It's $2,500. He goes down there and gets him a wife for the next 20 years to prove she's proven to him that she's worth his time for at least 15 out of those 20 years. But here in America, we're spending $300 a night, sometimes on the same girl. 10 dates is $3,000, and she's still talking about how you ain't shit. Because you ain't doing enough. It's not that because you're not doing. It's not because you're not doing your best. You're not doing enough. Her expectations are set so high. Americans are spoiled. All of them. Me, everybody. Americans are spoiled. We have a higher level of expectations. And our higher level of expectations demands us to get paid more money. Our higher level of expectations demands us to have more valuable and flashy shit, which means that we're going to waste more money on expensive shit that we don't need, that we're not going to use. And then the women who are entitled, self-entitlement comes from being spoiled by the society. So it's the man's fault too, that women believe that they're supposed to be kept and catered to, that men are supposed to just give them shit for their entire existence of their life, because the more attractive they are, men will show the woman appreciation for her attractiveness by giving her gifts. You get this throughout the entirety of your life. 15, 20 men a day is offering to buy you stuff, taking you places, bringing you free stuff, giving you nice things, and you don't got to do shit but smile at them. It's hard for you to say that you're not entitled to be treated that way because you've been treated that way your whole life. A man never gets treated like that. So when a man flies to the Philippines and gets treated like that, hey, that's a whole nother level. That's a whole nother level. And the idea behind that is that you are going to have a whole lot more respect from the men when you as a female are showing him the same respect that you expect him to show you. One of the things that we noticed here, we have a problem here in America. I talked about this on the show before. They have the problem in Hong Kong. The women expect the men to come to their aid. Random strange men come to the aid when a woman needs help. Doesn't matter if she's being attacked by a man, if she's having a health issue, whatever the case may be. The men in Hong Kong say that if the woman's in trouble, she got to fend for herself, because they don't want to be held responsible for civil action against the man, because if they do something to protect the woman and whatever they do negatively, she don't like that when she's no longer in danger no more, she can sue him for it. Like, for example, the women say, well, if they have a heart attack or pass out or something like that, they want the man to come over there and administer CPR. And then if the man don't want to go over there and administer CPR, because that requires him to put his hands on her chest to perform the compressions and put his mouth on her mouth to blow air into her mouth, because nobody's walking around with a portable fucking CPR kit. I told y'all about that. The women then sued him in for sexual harassment because he brought her back to life. Like, why are the women treating the men like shit? Why are the women not treating the men like gold? If you know that if you have a heat stroke and pass out, you will not die because there are 5 men standing next to you, you are supposed to appreciate and value those men. You are supposed to thank those men the same way we vaguely thank the troops who come back from the war. With the way that we thank the veterans and shake their hands and I appreciate your service, you're supposed to be able to tell those men, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you being here. You are amazing. Because at the end of the day, if you are falling down the stairs backwards, the man standing behind you is going to catch you. But if while he's catching you, his hands accidentally touch your breast, you're going to slap him in the face. But you didn't bust your head on the escalator on the way down, though, because of him. He sprained his ankle. You slapped him in the face. Now his face hurts. His foot's broke, but you're still alive because of him. Y'all don't appreciate the men. We have that same problem here in America. If a man is opening the door for a woman, she's got a bunch of stuff in her hands. He's opening the door for a woman because she's wearing these tight ass leggings. She wants to say, oh, he's trying to look at my ass. Well, bitch, open the door by your goddamn self. Now we got women on social media complaining, oh, man won't help me lift stuff. You see me struggling. I got 5 kids, this, that, and third. Ma'am, you made a bad choice. You're a single mom with 5 kids. Why did you stop with 1? Why you got 5? And you're still single? Kind of how you going to make the same bad choice 4 other times after you made the first bad choice? Then you sitting over here pissed off because you're struggling. Why you didn't teach the other 4 kids to help you carry some shit? You know, as a man, if I got 5 kids and 4 of them can walk, 3 of them is carrying shit, and 1 of them's getting the door. God damn it. You're not going to tell me that I got 5 kids that are going to sit there and watch me struggle. Shit. You call them sweatshops for nothing. Mr. B said, my granny said, never need a man. Keep them around for fun. That is Asher. Her husband died in Cat 5. Ooh. That was in South Florida in 1925. But yeah, the Cat 5 hurricanes were pretty bad back in those days. They don't have those kind of storms in Florida right now, because I can tell you from Apollo Beach standpoint that Hurricane Irma wasn't all that bad. We lost power for a few hours, but we didn't lose that much power. It was enough to mess with the cable, but it wasn't enough to like wash away the whole neighborhood. But you're right, Mr. Beats. A lot of women are saying that we don't need no man. We can do it all by ourselves. But the fact of the matter is that you can do most shit by yourself. And there's a lot of stuff that you would wish that a man would do for you. And truth, the women actually, when they get a boyfriend that they're looking for to turn into a husband, they are electing that man to take responsibilities from that woman. So even though she can do it for herself, when a woman gets a man on her level, she's getting a man that can do the same shit that she can do herself. She just no longer has to do it now because she has him. So she don't need him. She wants him. She don't need him to do that. She wants him to do that. And she is supposed to then relinquish her authority over that, sit down, shut the fuck up, and let him do that. Because if he's not doing it well, she needs a better man than that. Because a woman is supposed to be able to be led by a man that's capable of leading, the same way an army is supposed to be led by a general that's capable of leading. So if he is not a leader, she needs to go find a leader. You cannot lead a leader. That doesn't work that way. And you can't have 2 leaders going in 2 separate directions and say that we together. There is no census here. If I say go right, let's go right. If you see danger to the right, you tell me there's danger coming from the right, but we're going right. And as that danger happens, we're able to proactively make impact on how do we assess the collateral damage towards the chaos and catastrophic stuff that's on the right. But at no point in time is the woman saying, oh, I ain't going to the right. I don't like the right. The right ain't pink. I don't want to go to the right. I want to go to the left. That's not what we're doing here. So Barbie says, I know I live in the town next over, but occasionally I got to the city he's in. That's why I'm worried. I used to frequent his sushi spot a lot. Well, you're gonna have to change sushi spots now. So that's not where we're at. She says, so what do men see in single mothers? What are the pros and cons? I know she's already domesticated. It's not about getting women that's domesticated. It's about getting a partner. And men don't really care if the women have children. Women don't really have responsibilities as far as meeting the expectations of a man to get into the relationship. We need to set boundaries and non-negotiable expectations for behavior for women so that there is a level of quality to check, because you can't do a quality and assurance check if you don't have a criteria. Truthfully, a lot of the men who are focused on sex as the prize are typically getting a woman that will put out. And that's why women believe, because she's attractive and she's willing to sleep with the guy, that that's all she's got to do and she's wife material. And that mentality is the reason why women don't believe that they have any responsibilities, and then they demand to get a ring on their finger so that they can do the basic needs of the man. But the man is not required to provide basic needs to the woman as the boyfriend, as the guy in the friend zone. They have to do husband shit. They've got to pay for all of her standard of living. They got to take care of her kids, even if they're not his kids. They've got to do everything that she wants done. And if he can afford trips and expensive stuff, he's got to do all that shit too for months or years. Then he's got to spend thousands of dollars on an engagement ring, because inflation, rings ain't cheap no more. The woman is not going to be satisfied with a $200 ring from Zales. You got to go get something from goddamn Jared. You got to go get a fucking $40,000 ring K Jewelers, and then a $130,000 wedding at a rare location so that you could take a bunch of pictures and send it to the people who couldn't afford to fly out there so that you can feel like you did something. And God forbid if you're going to spend another $20,000-$30,000 on a honeymoon so that you can fly somewhere else and take a bunch of pictures there so that you can spend 2 or 3 nights over there to say that y'all had a lavish wedding and an expensive ring, and that supposed to promote that he's rich, because technically it's supposed to be 1/3 of the man's income, not just $35,000 in general. So if he's making $30,000 a year, 1/3 of his income is $10,000. And that's really still too much money, because remember I told you last year a Bitcoin was 20,000, so 10,000 is half Bitcoin last year, and 72,000 right now. If you was to buy a Bitcoin in 4 months, when it goes back down to 40,000, that 10,000 is 25% of a Bitcoin, and when it goes back up and triples again, your 10,000 would be 30,000. So it makes no sense for you to spend $10,000 on a ring when you can spend $10,000 on stock and give her the paperwork on that. Say, marry me off of the stock option. $100,000 on a wedding, and you spend that money on $100,000 worth of stock option and say, we're married now. We've got investment capital, because when she divorces you, she's going to take half of everything and the ring anyway. So why the fuck are you wasting all this money on a wedding when she could really be taking that $100,000 and using that $100,000 as her escape fund? Because if she know that there's $100,000 worth of stock money sitting somewhere where she divorced your ass, she's going to get 50 grand of that shit. So do you think that it's smart for you to waste 100 grand on a wedding when you can walk away with 50 grand on a divorce? Just saying. Now, Beat says, Barbie children should be loved, not questioned. True. And that's the guiding light. You're awesome. And that is the truth. The fact that children are supposed to be instructed, they're supposed to be given the tools that they need to make informed decisions and be able to make a logical informed decisions on their own, is one of the reasons why men are better at it than women, because men are going to come from a sense of logic, where the children, men and women, the girls and the boys, will be able to logically rationalize the scenario that they're in and be able to make positive decisions for their success in their objectives, in their agenda. You're not just doing it because I told you to do it. You're not doing it because I told you not to do it. You're not doing it because of the magnitude of the consequences of getting caught doing it. You are doing it because that's what you want to do, and the reward behind you doing it is not coming from me, it's coming from your efforts. That's why you're teaching your kids responsibility. So she's talking about Katrina. Yeah, I was in Katrina. Katrina sucked. She wants a partner, not a leader. Well, unfortunately, it's not the idea of trying to find a partner is the goal. But the interesting thing is that the women claim that they want a masculine man to lead them, and you're not going to find a masculine man to lead you when you're not willing to follow instructions. When you are looking for a partner, you still got one of y'all out of the two of y'all. Even Beats, you could tell me right now, even in your marriage, you don't always make all of the decisions, but you do primarily make some decisions. You do say, this is what we're going to do, but you talk to her about it first. Likewise, there are some situations where she might have a little bit more knowledge about it than you, and she's telling you, honey, this is what we're going to do. She's going to talk to you about it first. She's not just going to go off while you're missing in action, make a decision without your knowledge or consent, and then the result you have to deal with. Likewise, you're not going to just wander off and make a decision and she doesn't know what's going on, and then the results of the decision she just got to deal with. There is going to be communication with one another, but between the two people, one of y'all is going to make the first choice to make a step forward, and the other one's going to follow. The first person that says let's go this way, that's the leader. The other one's like, all right, let's see what happens, that's the follower. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're less of a person because you're following somebody else's lead. You do it with your friends. You might be, oh, what do you want to do for fun? Your friend says, oh, let's go over here and go skateboarding. I'm not into skateboarding, but I'll follow your lead. I'll go over there. Let's see what's going on. If it ain't fun, I'll figure out something else to do. You will go there, but it wasn't your choice to go there. You're going because your friend said, let's go there. That's you following your friend to go have fun. You say, I want to do something fun tonight. Your friend said, let's go to the club. You don't feel like going to the club. You're tired, but your friend says, let's go to the club and let's get out tonight. You're following your friend's lead to go out and have fun. you're indifferent about the situation. You don't care if you go, you don't care if you stay. But the fact is that you're not always going to make the dominant choice in the situation. But when you make a dominant choice in a situation, you don't want somebody to challenge everything that you say all of the time. So one of the things that we have is that when women select a man, there are some women that select a man for all the wrong reasons, and then she doesn't trust his judgment. So when he makes a decision, she's got to debate it with him until he gives up on his position. That is not acceptable. At the end of the day, if she is not going to cooperate with the man that she chose, she should choose a different man that she has more respect for. Because if you respected the man that you chose, he would be doing what you wanted him to do. The same way that when you select a lawyer, you follow the lead of your lawyer. You're paying him to tell you when to shut up. You're paying him to tell you when you're not doing the right thing in the courtroom. You're paying him to cover up the shit that you don't want the judge to know about. When shit goes, if you fail to appear in court, he's taking a fall for that. He's going to waive your appearance. Likewise, your husband, your boyfriend, same thing. He's going to make decision for you when shit gets tough. He's going to stand up for you. If somebody's going to get their ass whooped, he's going to be the first person to try to take a punch for you. He's going to be the person that's going to get shot for you, like that man that got shot over his family at that assassination attempt, the first assassination attempt, when the firefighter got killed because he dove over his wife and kids and got a bullet in his back. Because he said get down and she got down. Now, she would have stood up talking about something, tell me what to do. She would have had two in the face. But because he said get down and she got down, he was able to protect her. Think about, like I keep saying on the show, the president's got 5, 10, 15 men telling them when to sit down, when let's go. You can't stay here anymore. You can't go to that place. It's compromised. Most powerful man in the world is being told when to leave, when not to leave, when to get up, when to sit down. By 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, he's got a team of men assigned to tell him what to do. The current president right now, Biden, sitting in a room with 2, 3, 4 people. Somebody's answering the phone for him. Everybody knows who's in there. They got to clear people. So you can't even have company unless we say it's okay. You in this room by yourself until I tell somebody else that they're allowed to walk into this room with you. They do what they're told. And if they say that somebody doesn't have the clearance to come beyond a certain area, he's got to go into the restricted area, but the other person can't go. So my conversation got to stop right here because you're not allowed to go any further. I have to respect the authority of the people that are here protecting me. Likewise, ladies, you got to respect the authority of the people that you elect to protect you. And now you want to be a partner to your man. You're going to be able to make decisions with him that is in line with him. But if you know what he's trying to accomplish, you're going to try to help him succeed with that. Not tell him what you're not going to do. Don't tell me what to do. I'm grown. Don't tell me what to wear. I'm grown. Don't get jealous of me talking to that man. No, don't talk to him, because if you come up missing, he's the last person that was seen with you. We tell women all the time, when women say, oh, that's abusive for a man to be following up where I'm at and I got to check in and all this other stuff. That's not abusive. That's keeping track of your ass so that if you come up missing, your last on Marabout is my first location to go to. And you got to remember, as an adult, 3 days got to go by before the police start looking for you. So whatever's happening to you is going to happen to you for 3 days before the police start looking for you. It takes 30 seconds to take your life. You could suffer for 10 minutes. And the average response time is 45 in some cities. So when you think about the fact that if you need help and your man is 3 minutes down the road and he know where you at, he know what you're doing, and you text him, help, come get me, he already know where you at. But if you don't check in with your husband, you don't check in with your boyfriend, you don't tell him what's going on, he's not going to know where you're at. He's not going to know that you're in trouble. And then the time it takes for you to get on the phone and call him because you done turned your phone off because you don't want to be bothered. You could get abducted, you could get knocked off, you could get robbed, you could get assaulted. And then when you wake up covered in your own blood, you're wondering what the fuck happened. And your man could have protected you, but you decided to go out and do whatever the fuck you wanted to do, hanging out with the girls. That is not what life is about. It's about being a partner to your partner. So if women want partners, like LB is saying, she wants partners, not leaders. If you want a partner, you got to be a partner to your partner. You can't be a dictator to your husband or your boyfriend and then expect your husband or your boyfriend to be your partner. That's not the way life works. So Barbie says, L Beats, I don't have any kids. I'm talking about what my ex and what he's in this lady. Yeah, you still dwelling on yesterday's situation with that man. You should have forgot about that man after the 4.5 hour conversation that we had last week. She says, so let me say, my ex marries a girl. Then congratulations for him. If they get a divorce, does he have to pay child support even if the daughter is not his? If he adopts a child, yes, he does. Alpha males versus beta males. Yes, there is a big difference between the alpha males that stand on principle, sigma males like myself that will stand on principle but not unnecessarily fight for shit that does not matter to us, that's not going to affect us or impact us, and beta men and delta men that actually just fold conflict avoidantly and not even stand up for their own principles. There's a huge difference. And one of the difference between the alpha male behavior of Andrew Tate and Myron versus my sigma mentality is that I don't give a fuck if you're in charge. I just want you to take responsibility for your decision making process. I don't give a fuck if you lead the way. Just don't fuck up the money. But don't tell me that you're going to take the money that I'm working for and you're going to pay for your upkeep, which is a waste of my money when I could have took that money and invested it somewhere else where in 15, 20 years, you could have 3 people doing your hair on a daily basis where you could look like Beyonce on a regular basis with real natural hair instead of stuff glued to your scalp by the neighborhood hairdresser. So there's a lot of things that could change. If you prepare for your later now, you'll have a greater tomorrow. And when your tomorrow is today, you have greater days ahead, as opposed to having miserable life. Because when you think about the 20, 30, 40 years of you working, you already in your 30s, Barbie. So you already know that 20, 30 years of working. And you tell me that if you stop working a day, you are not going to be able to survive off of the money that is left over for the next 30 years. At some point in your life, you got to put your mind to the grindstone of being able to say that you are going to invest in a type of future where you can stop working today and you got money coming in to cover your standard of living for the remainder of your life. That is the true idea of retirement, is to quit working and still have money coming in. But we're not paying attention to that. Like I told you earlier, Beats, she's been talking about her boyfriend for the last hour, 30 minutes. I've been talking about making money. I've been talking about being better partners. I've been talking about finding the right spouse. We're talking about moving up and moving on. And she's stuck on the same man from 4 years ago. This is bad decision-making process. You should not be paying attention to what's going on with him. You should be paying attention to how you can better yourself as a woman so that you can find higher value men, so that you're no longer thinking about the man that is not worth your time because you are not worth his time. She says, well, if my ex-girlfriend is supporting him so bad, why did 2 of his fight matches get canceled? His fights can get canceled, and that got nothing to do with his relationship. He can be successful or be a failure in his athletic occupation, still got that fallback job as a welder, and the woman could be paying for all of the primary bills, making sure that everything stays afloat, and his money could be extra. So it doesn't necessarily matter whether or not he's a successful fighter or not. All that matters is that he's happy in a relationship that he's in with the person that he has. And you need to be trying to find a way to find you somebody that you can be happy with so that you're not dwelling on him. She said, so if he adopts her, does that involve paperwork, or is it just him assuming the father role but no paperwork? No, there is paperwork. If he is going to be financially obligated to this child after the divorce, there's paperwork. He actually adopts his child and ends up on the birth certificate of the child as the new biological father when that happens. So there's going to be some adoption paperwork put together. There's going to be a lot of authorities changed over. He's going to be the child's legal parent and guardian. And that is when he assumes the financial obligations of parenting the child. If he does not adopt the child, he just marries the mom, but he does not adopt the child. He is not on the child's birth certificate. He is not financially obligated to care for the child, which in that situation, if he was to be divorced by this woman, that he would not be financially obligated to take care of that woman because that is not his child on paper, and that is not his child in person. She says, what's that, a dog or a cat I saw in the corner? That was a big shadow for you to even ask me if that was a cat. That was a dog. That was a pretty big dog, and it's a pretty nosy dog. And sometimes he comes and joins the podcast with us. I'm surprised that he didn't get in the podcast with us. He's gonna come and join the podcast now because he realizes that he's gonna be a star in the show. So he's gonna get up here. This is one of the registered service dogs that we keep. Supposed to be getting a third one. This one's for the daughter, and there's another one for the son. And this big one right here is Kane. That you see some of the adventures of Kane and Buttercup in some of the shows on the podcast, because there are some shows of the we have a podcast on our platform where the dogs are traveling the states and wandering around and going into buildings and leading the way and operating as functional service animals off leash, which is a new enforcement of law since 2016. So not too many people are comfortable with it, but the law is the law, and they got to abide by the law. So it's a change of situation. Go sit down. Go sit down. He wants to get up, and I want him to get down. It's a change in laws because there are individuals with disabilities that prevent them from being able to function safely with leashes. So service animals are allowed to be functioning off of leashes, at least here in the United States. That's not necessarily the case when you are flying across the world. You got to abide by the laws in other countries, which is one of the reasons why you got to know the laws where you're going before you get there and accommodate your travels to those laws. So when this and that is traveling from state to state and country to country, we are checking in on the laws that applies in those states and in those countries so that we are able to touch base with a lot of the fans as well as be compliant, which is one of the things that we try to tell women to do on a regular basis, is to try to be compliant to the men that they love and care for, because it's hard for you to be a partner to somebody if you don't show them the love and respect that they deserve. She says, L Beats, we had a very deep 4 to 5 conversation. Yeah, it was a very lengthy conversation yesterday, and that's one of the reasons why we were saying that with the length and magnitude that we went to yesterday, you shouldn't even be thinking about your man today. She said, do you know who the sprinkle lady is? I am not familiar with the sprinkle lady firsthand, but I am familiar with the drizzle trend that followed sprinkle, because if these females is going to be sprinkle all over the place with being sassy and classy and setting themselves up for selfish success off the dollars of the man that they're getting with, that these women need to recognize that if you're going to be an authority and you're going to be in control over shit, you're going to be putting your foot down, demanding certain shit. Then at the end of the day, ma'am, you are going to have to pay the cost to be the boss, or you're as the dependent of the financial investment from the man, that these ladies are going to have to spend a lot more time and effort respecting the man's authority, as well as respecting the man in general, as well as validating and appreciating the man that they get. Because if you're not going to do that, then there's absolutely no reason why you should be expecting as an adult woman to be kept by a grown-ass man who is trying to be financially successful, and he is redirecting all of his funds to entertaining the lady. That is not investing in the man's success. So with all of the many ways that you could take the extra thousands of dollars from both of y'all and invest it into the proper areas where your money is making money for y'all, where you could then be getting a residual income from the interest off of your money, where that residual income would then be paying you $3,000, $5,000, $7,000 a month, where you could then be wasteful. Instead of y'all doing that, y'all take the man's money straight out of his paycheck and run off and go enjoy the life of Riley and charge it to the Underhills, trying to keep up with the Joneses. And y'all fail to understand that the money arguments that y'all have in relationships is because bills ain't getting paid on time. Money is being spent on frivolous bullshit at times. And the things that y'all need, y'all don't have. And then the lack of satisfaction with the amount of resources that is able to be utilized amongst the parties involved causes a rift in the relationship. And that is one of the things that y'all need to fix. So the lack of communication between one another, the lack of respect for one another, the lack of cooperation towards one another's interests, that is something that y'all have to fix. And if y'all can't fix that, y'all are never going to be able to make it. And most relationships don't last past 3 years because the average female is thinking about herself. The average male is trying to regain control over the relationship, and he can't regain control over the relationship with an alpha lady that is trying to control the man and push the man into a subordinate position for the sake of receiving sex. It just doesn't work out. But with the power struggle between the man and the woman, there's going to be more arguments over who's supposed to be in charge and less cooperation and negotiation about how to conquer this particular obstacle. And the relationship is going to fall apart. There's going to be a lot of petty catchback that's going to be going on. There's going to be a lot of petty he said, she said. There's going to be a lot of petty sabotaging behavior where a female will sabotage a man's character or sabotage a man's financial success so that he can then fail, so that she can rub his failure into his face. Because the same way you was explaining to us yesterday, Barbie, about how you had to make him feel miserable because of how he made you feel in that one interaction with him that caused him to block your number that day. This behavior is normal. It's not appropriate. It should not be acceptable, but it is normal. And that is one of the reasons why it is hard for the next generation, the Generation Ys and the Generation Zs, and some of us Gen Xers, from being able to be more successful in relationships because priorities are screwed on both sides. And since the priorities are screwed on both sides, we have to figure out a way to bring back the balance. And first person accountability requires each individual to look into themselves and find out how they're fucking up their own rotation, and then find a way to fix that shit so that they don't have so much catastrophic failure in their relationship from their involvement. Then you just have the other person on the other side of the fence in the same relationship that needs to recognize and make the same changes so that you can now have peace and tranquility in your relationship. But once that relationship dissolves itself, it's dead. There's no going back. There's no rekindling. There's no trying to fix it. So there's no worrying about the existence of that ex because that ex is not relevant anymore. She says, I just don't like seeing him happy. It sucks. Yeah, well, you got to get over that shit. But I got to remember it's not perfect behind closed doors. And I have no idea the way he is now. It don't matter if he's a saint or a sinner. Fact of the matter is, they look happy. Be happy for him. A few months ago, I saw like 2 dudes in one day that looked like him. I had to do a double take. That is your hallucinations because you really wish that you could come across this man, and you should really give up on that man. So every time you look at a man that looks like the man that you once dated, you need to talk to them like Usher talked to them females. You remind me of a girl that I once knew, and I can't be with you. That's what he said. That's what Usher said straight out the gate. That you remind me of a girl that I once knew. And that is one of the reasons why I can't get with you. So in those situations, you are not supposed to relive the past. You are not supposed to continue to dwell on the past. You're supposed to let the past go. Leave the past in the past. Spend the rest of your today focusing on tomorrow. You need to spend the rest of your tomorrow focusing on next year. You need to spend the rest of this year focusing on the next 3 years. You need to spend the rest of next year focusing on the next 10 years. That way, when next year becomes this year, you're already set up for the next 4 years. When the next 4 years come, you're set up for the next 20 years. You want to be able to have yourself in a constant era of improvement where you are successfully making yourself a better person inside and out, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially. If you're working on that, then you're good. If you are not focusing on that, then you got to work on that. And if you're not focusing on self-improvement, because we have a self-reflection show that's still up there on the podcast. You got to go back a few months because I do believe it was in either April or May when I did it. But we got a self-reflection and a emotional maturity, 2 different shows talking about this right after the toxic behavior topic that we talked about, that you can go back and watch. That's like 5 hours worth of videos that you can go back and watch and learn how to change the way that you pay attention to things. So Barbie says, it's just look up so videos titled, should I date a single mom? They're mostly negative, like spending money, discipline, canceling dates because they can't find a babysitter. Yeah, and I have that on my podcast as well because that's true. But men date single moms and men make it work because men readjust their budgets to cover the mom and the child. Men will do family functions with a single mother instead of doing adult dates with the single mother because a child must be included. And the man will reassess his situation. But we have, as single men, when we've come to find out that we're trying to date a girl that is a mother or claims to be a mother, because not all the time that Western women actually have children that live with them and have that financial responsibility. We got some that are scammers that will tell the man, oh, I wish I could go out with you, but I need a babysitter and I can't afford a babysitter. And then the man will offer her money for a babysitter. She will get the money from him for the babysitter and still don't go out on a date with him. You have women that actually have children where they will milk the fact that they have children and tell the man, oh, well, I need this, that, and other for my child, and I can't go on a date because I got to go focus on this, that, and third. And the man will say, well, look, if I cover that financial obligation for you, can I get your undivided attention for the night? Oh, yeah, sure, whatever. And then when the man gives her the money, she takes the money and dips, and he's out the money. Women scam men like that here in America. So when we were talking on yesterday's show and day before yesterday's show with some of the fans that was in the comment sections of the platform in the community tabs, and they were telling me about how the men in Colombia, 12 of the passport bros in Colombia came up missing because they was going places they wasn't supposed to go, getting involved with people that they wasn't supposed to get involved with. Those men were looking for a good time. Those men weren't looking for wives. But the woman tried to make it seem like the women in the Philippines are dangerous. The women in the Philippines aren't dangerous. But just like the women in the Philippines could put you in the wrong room where your kidney will come up missing and you might not survive that, you got women in America that will lead you to a hotel room and that have your enemies come into that hotel room and rob you at gunpoint while she's taking pictures of it, laughing and smiling at you and posting that shit up on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter. So we understand that the behavior of women is no different in any other country outside of the fact that in the Eastern countries, the women hold a higher level of mandatorily mutual respect for men, even when the men are disrespecting themselves. But in America, the women do not really have that higher level of respect for men, and men can't even earn that level of respect because the women respect the men based on how much money the man brings to the table. And if the man is not willing to give that money to the woman, it doesn't matter how much money the man brings to the table because she is still not going to have respect for him. She's going to still consider him a broke ass man because he is not spending his riches on her. And that's a manipulative tactic. So we could talk about the problems with dating a woman with a child all for another 5 hours, but that's not going to change the fact that, you know, most women problematically require a man to spend money on them instead of the women spending money on the men until the man finds out that the woman is worthy. And men are going to have problems with disciplining the children, whether it's his kid and they don't have the same disciplinary styles, or it's not his kid. But men are able to negotiate with the children a lot better than the women are. Women are going to take belts to that ass. Men are not going to do that often. Men are going to sit the kid down and say, look, this is what I need you to do and this is why. And then the child is going to think about it and say, you know what, that makes sense. The man might even make a deal with the child and say, well, you know what, if you can do this, this, and this and not give me no trouble, then I will get you X, Y, and Z that you said that you wanted. And that trade-off will have a positive reinforcement from positive behavior. If you don't do what I need you to do, you're being problematic. I'm not going to get you what you want. I'm not going to take you where you want to go. You're not going to see the things that you're looking for. Proper parenting is freedom within limitations. You give the child the opportunity to follow your instructions. You also don't give the child the choice to reject your instructions. They have the opportunity to either follow your instructions or receive consequences. They have the opportunity to follow your instructions a certain way where they might be able to do it however they want to do it, but they still got to do it. The same way you tell them, get in there and go get them dishes washed. It don't matter if you wash the dishes by hand or put them in a dishwasher. As long as them damn dishes is clean before you come up out of that kitchen. That's the instructions that you're getting, is go in there and go clean the dishes. Go in there and do the laundry. It don't matter if you ball up all of your laundry in a corner somewhere with wrinkles on it, as long as all the laundry is washed. But everybody else's laundry better have creases on it because that's what you were told to do. Go over there and do the laundry. So doing it how you want to do it, but making sure that you get it done, is being able to administer discipline to the children. Now, when it comes down to women lying to men, when you start talking about Barbie about canceling dates because they can't find a babysitter, women will lie to men about all kinds of reasons why they're not going to go through with the date after they lied to the man, telling the man that they were going to go on a date with him in the first place. So the problem that you have is that women are supposed to be able to be honest with men, which is one of the reasons why men being straightforward is offensive and assaulting to women, because women like this cat and mouse shit. Cat and mouse shit works for chasing sex. Cat and mouse shit doesn't work for long-term relationships. Cat and mouse shit does not work for long-term companionships, lifelong partners, marriage. Cat and mouse shit don't work. I tell you what needs to be done, and you get that shit done. We have the saying in my family that if your ass ain't in the right spot during a bank robbery, you're going to get us all arrested. I should not have to tell you the plan while we execute the plan, because now's not the time to talk about that. Now's the time to be in your place, be in your position, do your role. If you the getaway driver, you supposed to be there at the getaway door. If you the gunman, you supposed to be in a gunman position. If you hitting the safe, you supposed to be hitting the safe. Don't tell me what the fuck you're not going to do now. We taking action. That's how Set It Off failed. If you do what you're supposed to do, and Set It Off, they would have got away if Queen Latifah didn't spend 45 minutes trying to find the right escape music CD. If she would just got in the car and just drove up, they would have rolled off into the sunset. Biggest hit of their life. But because she was so close-minded to the fact that she had to deliberately find the right getaway music before she left, that ego is what got them caught, got everybody, almost everybody killed, most of them shot. Whoever didn't get shot went to jail because of the ego. If the ego wasn't there, there would be success. That is the expectation all the way around, is that if your ego's not there, your relationship is going to be successful. If you are spending more time and effort into the success of your relationship where you're working with your partner, then you're not going to have all of that fuss and fighting and arguing. But women are lying to men, like we had on a show the other day, where the woman called a boyfriend. She had this fake ass wig where it looked like she had box braids going all the way down her head. Told the man she needed $2,000 for that. He looking at the head like, all right, I got it. But he was sitting over there shaking his head like, God damn, $2,000. Then when she get off the phone with him, she take the fucking wig off. She had some bullshit ass cornrows, looked like some prison style cornrows that wasn't even worth $200. She tell the woman she gonna give her $20 for the braids. How the fuck you getting $20 braids and you just extorted $2,000 out your boyfriend? Then she gonna sit over here talking about some, I'm gonna take some of this money and pay for the babysitter so that I can use the rest of the money so we can go on the trip. Why is you extorting money out your man so that you can go and sneak off and go out of town on a vacation without his knowledge with his money, and then you dropping your child off with somebody else, he thinking that you got the child doing something important, your ass missing in action. Now, if you end up underneath the dumpster somewhere, missing 2 lungs and a kidney, then, what happened? Your man didn't know what the fuck was going on. See what I'm saying? If women was honest, I want to go on such and such trip with the girls. Can I get this money for the X, Y, and Z vacation? If the man got it like that, he would have felt better saying, you don't need to spend your money on that. I'll take you on a trip at such and such day out of later in the year. We can go together with the kids. But if you really want to go and he got the money to give it to you, he would feel better giving it to you against his better judgment, knowing where you're going to be at, than for you to lie to him so that you can get money out of him so that you can go on this vacation anyway behind his back. But that's what we have with the women these days, is that a woman will lie to somebody, which is why I was telling Beats earlier that men are better at raising children than women are, because women will lie and manipulate and guilt trip someone, gaslight someone into doing what she wants them to do, as opposed to just being straightforward and telling them what's up. A man is not gonna do all of that shit. If he's going on a fucking trip, he's gonna go on a trip. You ask him where he going. Oh, wait, I'll be back. He's not going to sit there, such and such happened, I got to go to such and such, and you want to go too. You know what I'm saying? If he going somewhere and he going without you, he telling you, I'm going somewhere and I'm going without you. You're going to stay here till I come back. So that straightforward attitude, that upfront behavior, that's something that we all need to grasp. And that's why I was saying with today's show, that like you got to stand on your own 2 feet and say that I'm not putting up with this bullshit. You got to be able to tell your partner that she needs to tighten up. You got to be able to, as a partner, be able to respect his decision a lot of the times. And there's going to be some situations, like I told Beast, where the ladies have some knowledge that men don't have. So men will adhere to the knowledge that they don't have to help them get through the situation that the man is trying to resolve. And in those situations, if she say, you know what, it might be better for us to do X, Y, and Z. Yeah, I might do that. But you also got certain situations where some people might say, you know what, I appreciate your opinion, but I'm not going to do it that way. Like, for example, I got an older model car. My sister was telling me, oh, go to Rock Auto, go get your parts. Now, I like that advice. I'm not going to go to Rock Auto to get the part because the somebody else is going to pay for the part for me if I don't go to Rock Auto to get the part. But I like that advice. But where did she get that advice from? Years ago, I was going to Rock Auto and getting all my parts to rebuild my 83 Crown Victoria LTD. So everything that I got for all of her vehicles that I was building and all of my vehicles that I was building, I was getting them from Rock Auto. So she knows, oh shit, I can go to Rock Auto and I can go get anything I want for my car. So she tells me, oh, you can go to Rock Auto and get anything you want for your car. It's great advice because it's advice I gave to you like 10 years ago. But I got a whole nother situation involved where somebody else is going to put up a majority of the money to cover the cost if I go through a certain size. So instead of me wasting a bunch of money buying the part, I can let Tom, Dick, and Harry buy the part and pay for half of the labor. And then all I really got to do is just throw down a difference, which probably would have been the labor had I bought the part and paid them cash up front myself. So her advice wasn't wrong, but if I can't utilize all of the assets that I had to accomplish a task where some assets would be wasted, I said, well, hold on, let me do it this way so I can spend that and not waste my overhead. Doesn't mean that she doesn't make sense. It doesn't mean that she doesn't have a good opinion. It just means that if there is a fixed allocation of capital over here dedicated to what I'm about to do, and there isn't fixed capital over here, if I do it your way, I might not be able to spend that money on this. But this is the only thing I can spend that money on. But if I do it that way, that money guaranteedly goes on this. And the amount of money that I'm going to get from that is going to be enough to cover more than what I would have paid doing it this way, which means that I'm going to pay less doing it this way. So your idea isn't wrong. It's just not as feasible as doing it the other way. That's how you make it make sense. That's when you negotiate with your girlfriend or your wife. That's when you negotiate with your boyfriend or your husband. But tell your man what you're not going to do. Tell your man where you're not going to go. Tell your man how he needs to do what you say. And then if he don't do what you say, you're going to say that he's insecure from his childhood. Something happened with his mama and this, that, and the third. Toxic women is toxic women. It doesn't matter if it's you being a toxic woman right now, or you being a second woman being toxic after the last woman that was toxic, or you being the eighth woman being toxic after his mama was toxic. The fact of the matter is that a toxic woman is a toxic woman. The man has to self-preservate, which means that he is going to survive all of the toxicity that he encounters in his life. But that's not going to change the fact that his decision to do it this way, because he can spend more of the pre-allocated funds on this particular task, he's going to do it that way to get rid of that money, because that's money that he can't spend on anything else, as opposed to taking money he could be investing and putting it on something that pre-allocated cash exists to cover. Doesn't that make sense? If you're running a business and you've got a payroll for trainees and a payroll for regular hour employees, you got two different payroll systems there. If you've got a budget there to pay people who just started, and that money's going to pay those people for 90 days, you want to keep them at training pay for 90 days. You don't want to turn them over to the hourly wage employees unless they're really good at what they do, because they're covered. And if that training overhead is not calculated in your bonus, where as long as you don't overdo your primary hourly wage, you get a bonus, you want to keep more people in the training phase because you're going to get more money out of that. You don't want to just switch everything over to the primary bill when you're going to spend more money. So when we were talking earlier today about how it's hard to find a good partner and it's hard to find cooperation, but it is easier for us to negotiate and rationalize with a partner that is going to cooperate with our agenda to the magnitude of seeing it succeed. Because you do have those partners that will criticize you the whole way through. They'll talk down to you about it. They'll tell you that you're not going to succeed. And God forbid you fail. I told you so. You ain't shit. That kind of behavior, we don't need that kind of behavior around us. We don't need the kind of females that's going to hang around just to enjoy watching us fail. We need the kind of females that's going to be like, all right, baby, we're going to get this done. We're going to succeed with this. And not just say it gaslighting me, literally put forth the effort to make it happen. If we're going to open up an Airbnb and it requires you to go over there and go and do the laundry and change out the sheets, go over there and do the laundry and change out the sheets. If I'm doing the scheduling, I'm over here working out the closing the deals to set up the calendar. You go over there and make sure that the shit's rotated out. Hire some people to rotate the shit out for you so that you don't got to go over there and rotate the shit out. We got to work together as a team. But don't just tell me, oh, it ain't going to work. It is what it is. No. You have to not just be optimistic. You also have to be active in the success of your relationship. You have to be active in the success with your partner. And men, you have to stand on your non-negotiable expectations for behavior. So from date one, if you see that this bullshit is not what you signed up for, or that you do not want to sign up for this bullshit before you've signed up for it, then you must make sure that you dismiss this person before you get too far invested into this person. If you see a falling stock and you invest in a falling stock, thinking that it's going to bounce back, and the shit don't bounce back, you pull out before you lost all of your investment. You don't just let that shit sit and just all of your money is gone. You don't continue to invest in a debt. That makes absolutely no sense. So, as it stands right now, if you're not in a situation where you're managing and promoting and building your tomorrow today, making your later greater today, so that when your later is today, your days are better today, because the day is already over. You should not be living today. You only live once. You should be preparing for your future, not for your afterlife. And if you're not doing that, then you are not doing what is in the best interest of yourself. And you cannot have a partner that wants to do what is in your best interest, and then you're going to combat that partner. If y'all are together, y'all are supposed to be two against the world, not one against the other. So if she ain't working with you, she ain't part of your team. And what Juan Cruz said, you either with me or you're against me. Choose. And you ain't with me, off with your head. That's how we got to do it. So I'm going to wrap things up. Today, we got us a really good show tomorrow. Actually, we got quite a few shows coming up that's really good. And we do actually have on, I do believe, Monday, the one about the tax lien. So we're going to be talking about that one. We're going to be talking about budgeting with food on either Tuesday or Wednesday, so that we're not spending so much money in America on feeding ourselves and feeding our loved ones. So make sure that you guys stay tuned with all of these shows. We are live 7 nights a week, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 5 Pacific. So hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow night. We're going to start off signing off of TikTok. So ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking y'all to make it make sense. So ladies, just make it make sense. And as we sign out of TikTok, I want to thank the rest of you guys for showing up and giving us love over here on the YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter side of things. You guys definitely show us a lot of love. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Oh, hold on, y'all. Wait. Oh, so they're showing us pretty much the same amount of people that was here yesterday was here today, but we had a lot more lively group today. So that was actually really good. Off the TikTok side of things. But yeah, really appreciate you guys. And let's see. Thank you for coming to this net where I'm your host. Oh, hold on. Barbie just said, or just one doing all of the work. Hell no, Barbie. We're not going to have just one doing all the work. That's some bullshit. That is not going to happen. Either way, thank you guys for coming to the show. I appreciate you being at This and That, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. I'm your host, Sander, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night.